everybody that's joining us for STEM Inspiration Week. We're just going to allow a couple more minutes to let everybody join and get yourselves comfortable. I just wanted to let you know that we are recording this session, and the film will be available on our website after the event, probably next week, and maybe actually sooner than that. So you'll be able to check back in and watch the video back of these talks, all of the STEM Inspiration talks, in fact, or most of them will be available afterwards. So welcome to you. Your cameras and microphones are switched off, so if you could please keep them switched off, and that's so that we don't get any background noise. But do use the chat function. We'll be asking you all if teachers can just let us know which school you're from, how many students, which year group you're from. That'd be great, and hopefully there's lots of you joining us today. I think we're going to go ahead because we're just after 2:30 now. So I'm going to go ahead and welcome our speaker, Geraint Thomas, who's from 3 Points Digital, on You Don't Need to Be a Geek to Build the Next TikTok. So take it away, Geraint.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully you can all see me and hopefully you can all hear me. I've also used the chat function to reach out to you all. Please, can I encourage you to chat to me as we're going through? I will be interacting with you. I'll be asking you questions. So of those of you that are on this call, if you're sat in a classroom, your teacher has walked away from the laptop, they've walked away from the keyboard thinking it's all set up and they don't have to do anything for the next hour, ask them to move that keyboard or give it out to somebody in the class that can do the chat. That'd be really, really fantastic. So yes, hi everybody, I'm Geraint Thomas. The heading of my talk here is You Don't Have to Be a Geek to Invent the Next TikTok. And let me share with you now then what I'm trying to get across to you in the next hour. And that is, okay, I'm a geek. I am a geek. I love the idea of robots ruling the world. I am that guy. But you don't have to be a geek to work in technology. Technology is everywhere now. It's really changing and transforming the world around us, regardless of what career or passion you might have in mind for your future. So what I'm going to try and encourage you all to do is think of what your passions are, what you'd like to make money doing when you're older, and we'll talk about how we can inject some technology into that. And guess what? If you mix your passions with technology, you'll tend to earn more as well, which is really, really nice. So yeah, TikTok's a great example of that. It came up just 2 years ago. It was a silly little idea in China, really took off. So for those who don't know, TikTok is the largest of that type of platform in the world. It's larger than Facebook, it's larger than Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, what's that these days? But it is the largest by a long way, and there's no sight of that slowing down either. So, and that's just videos. That's all that is. It's not even really technology. So can I ask, I've given you time now to get in front of a laptop or keyboard. Please pop an emoji in. Any emoji you want, just put something in chat just to know that there's people out there listening and there's people that can interact with me, because there's a few things that I'm going to throw out there that is going to fall dead if no one responds to them. So please take the opportunity to use the chat in any way you want. Just say hi. So first of all, I'm going to try and convince you to listen to me. And I'm going to try and convince you to do that because I'm going to try and come across to you guys as that fact. I am incredibly clever. I am very clever. I love mathematics. Don't judge me. But this is how I'm going to do it for you. So a little exercise for you all. If you can read that, it's not very important. It just lets you know what day it is today. Hopefully you can all see that. If I get my little marker, I'm going to just turn these into some numerical numbers for us all. So Tuesday, there's 7 letters in that. It's the 13th. October's the 10th month, and we're in 2020. So you're left with those numbers there. Please use chat, somebody, and add those numbers up for me. This is the easiest bit of the maths, I promise. It gets harder. If your teachers are stuck adding this up, somebody help them. Hey, okay. So indeed, so that adds up to 50. So 50, if you give me a minute to work this out. So yeah, do get in front of the chat if you can, because I'm going to ask you some questions in a minute. Okay, I think that's right. I'm so confident I'm putting the top on the pen. That's how confident I am. Now, I think you can just look at that. I mean, within one glance, you can all give me a round of applause for how clever I am. Can anybody work out why I'm clever holding this up? Somebody in one of the classrooms definitely knows what I've done here. I'm going to walk you through it. Let's try adding this row up. So 20 plus 9 plus 13 plus 8 adds up to 50. Ah, somebody's got it spot on. So not only, ladies and gentlemen, does every column add up to 50, but every row adds up to 50 also. So 20 plus 6 plus 7 plus 17 is 50. So they're all 20 down and all 20 across. So that takes skill. So now you can give me a round of applause. Actually, that's not that clever. Most people can do that one. What's really clever is when we add up the diagonal as well. The 20, the 15, the 10 and the 5, that's another 50. And you'll find that does it that way as well. So now you can give me a round of applause. And no, that's not even clever. I'll be honest, guys, that's not even clever. Right, are we ready for this? Okay, so that one and that one and that one and that one add up to 50. 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 That one, the 4 in the middle, they all add up to 50. If we look at the 4 on the edges even, they add up to 50. There are 39 other ways these all add up to 50. Now you can give me a round of applause with your mics off. Okay, so hopefully now you're aware of why you should be listening to me. I know what I'm talking about. And what I'm going to do is give you some examples of how technology really has changed the workplace, really changed the future of many, many careers. I'm going to even throw myself out there and say all careers. So I'm going to give you some examples and some stories. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the last part of this hour to you. I'm going to request that if anybody has an idea of perhaps what you are passionate about, what you want to make money from in the future, please throw it into chat. If you want to be a beautician, a hairdresser, if you want to be a Formula One driver, if you want to be a policeman, if you want to fly an aeroplane, whatever it might be, please put down there, and that will challenge me to come up with the technology that's going to revolutionize that vocation. So start thinking about it now. And towards the end of this, I will ask you to put down some ideas and challenge me to see if I can come up with how that's going to make a big difference. So the first thing I talk about is something close to my heart. So I'm from Swansea in South Wales. Amazon built one of the largest warehouses in the world in Swansea. It's absolutely massive. You need a vehicle to get around it. And what it means is every teenager that grows up in Swansea has worked there. It's an easy place to pick up money during the summer holidays or on weekends or working overnight. So it's a very common way of people earning money. So I'm going to share my screen. And when you think of a warehouse, you're going to be thinking of a picture like this. Rarely do you have that many people in close proximity, but that's exactly what it is. It's incredibly well organized. It might look like a mess of cardboard boxes, but every shelf has an ID to it. People go around and they scan these IDs and it tells you exactly what's on the shelf without you even knowing what it is, without looking at packaging. That ID is also linked to other systems that tell you how many of those things to pick and take away to an order. So this is very much what you think of when you think of a warehouse. And if you imagine working there over the summer holidays, you can imagine walking around these perhaps with a little cart to get around quicker. But that cart and the scanner is about the most you're going to get in terms of technology. So if I stop showing you that and I show you another warehouse, this is a video. It's going to be a little bit jerky, ladies and gentlemen, but I'll apologize for that. So if I share this with you. So this is what warehouses, I'd like to say warehouses of the future, but they're not. These exist right now. It's a warehouse from Ocado. They deliver food, groceries, a bit like your Tesco's. It's in Andover, slap bang in the middle of the UK. As far as warehouses go, it's tiny. You've got these really cool robots. Can you see the robots are color-coded on the tops? Some are blue, some are green, some are black. That tells you which ones are chilled. You can pick up chilled items, which ones carry fresh items, and things like that. The little antennae are really cool. It means that these robots act autonomously. They are choosing which route to take. They're not programmed to go left, right, 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 left. They're actually choosing where to go because they can communicate with each other, so they know exactly where every other robot's about to go. Now, there are humans in this workshop. You can't really see it. This is all actually suspended in the air, and the humans are underneath this. So these robots are doing all the picking up and dropping off of all these into baskets. Those baskets are lowered onto other robots, which then get transported around to the right station. So the job the humans do, quality checking. That's the bit they leave to the humans, to make sure that there's no bruises on that apple, that the bananas are right, that the frozen stuff is still frozen. This bit I quite like, that's the charging bank. So when they run low on charge, they automatically take themselves off and charge themselves up. So this is an example of a very low-skilled job in a warehouse being automated. I'll take you back to one of the pictures here. Did anyone see this? Please ignore the guy's ponytail. I'm not suggesting you do that. But if you've got a summer job in a warehouse, chances are you'll be repairing and building robots, which is much cooler than walking around a shelf trying to pick things up into a basket. So yeah, it's a neat job, affecting a lot of things. So I've just seen in the chat, somebody's asked, do the robots sometimes go wrong? So Steve, can you guess how many collisions they have per month? So they've measured it since they've opened, and I've seen the stats for a year, and they break it down into monthly stats, numbers of collisions they get per year. Sorry, per month. It's the idea of 3. They have a 1/12 of a collision, which means they've had 1 collision in a year. And that was because a human thought it'd be funny to walk out onto that grid, and they detoured to stop hitting him and purposely crash into another one. So yeah, the answer is 0, really. They don't collide. When they go wrong, they die. It's a mechanical fault. So something's worn out, something's broken, the battery's failed. It just stops. And can you imagine what they've got to do? They have to stop every robot in the whole building for a human to go and get the robot, bring it over and maintain it and fix it. They don't like that happening. It slows everything down, but they have to stop everything. Which is an interesting fact, actually. Robotics is a really fast-growing area of technology, but there's one fundamental problem with robotics. Humans and robots don't work well together. Robots are much stronger than humans. So a robot bumping into a human can break our bones, can flatten us, can crush us. So it's incredibly rare that you'll ever find an industrial setting where a robot and a human coexist, unless it's a fixed arm that can't reach certain places. So as you can imagine, when you've got all these robots whizzing around, they have to turn them all off for a human to go anywhere near them when they're moving. Yeah, interesting fact on robots. If anybody can solve that, if any of you can solve that, it's a big problem. Soft robots, cushiony, squashy robots is what we need. So another area I'll take you into is film. So this is an area where technology has already revolutionized it, from green screen backgrounds to 3D animations, but also the way we consume media has changed massively. I don't watch TV, not terrestrial TV. I live on Netflix and Now and Amazon and things like that. I consume things as I want to get them. So it really is already disrupted that sector hugely. But I want to show you what's coming. So some of you might know who Peter Jackson is. He's the writer and producer of Lord of the Rings films and a few others. And he's really interested to see the next generation of filmmaking. And he's got a company called Wingnut that does a lot of research in this space. So if you'll permit me to share my screen again, I'll show you a video of one of their prototypes that they're working on. Give that a minute to refresh. I'm going to let this play to the end. You should be able to hear me, hear the dialogue in this.
Peter Jackson and his partner Fran Walsh, they'd seen some AR demos of some new hardware and were really excited about the creative possibilities. They're amazing storytellers, and they wanted to take their experience and their skills and take them into this new medium. And so for the past year, we've been doing a bit of an R&D phase where we've been kind of exploring what is interesting in AR, because traditional storytelling and traditional entertainment concepts, and there's a lot of rules around camera work and everything else, and they don't necessarily work in AR. So we've been exploring that with Peter and figuring out what's fun and what's entertaining. And we tried to tell a little story. It's only like 1:30 long, but we wanted to make something cinematic with lots of actual characters, and we had actors act out the places on the table, and we did motion capture, and we flew the ships around. We're kind of waiting for AR to become a little more straight into mainstream. We're working with a lot of technology that's not released to the public yet, and that's pretty exciting. And as that comes out, we'll learn more of a vocabulary as we start seeing more spaces. I don't know. I think it's an amazing IP. I think there's so many opportunities with that. I think people would probably love that experience. I don't know when we'll see things in people's living room. I think it's hard to judge how fast the rollout of VR is going to be, but I think we all know it's coming, and whether it's phone based or glasses based, as over the next couple of years, I think it'll just ramp up so fast.
So I'm pretty excited by that. I think that's really cool. So AR, I think you probably all know this, augmented reality, different to virtual reality. Virtual reality completely changes everything around you. Augmented reality changes a part of your surroundings. And for me, that really blows open the idea of watching a film. So here's an example for you. When those kind of things become normal, you will be picking up a pair of glasses and putting them on to watch a film around the kitchen table or in the lounge, just staring at a central point. So imagine a murder mystery where it's half an hour long, and you have this haunted looking house, this old fashioned manor house in the middle, your Jane Austen kind of thing with all the grounds. And the family are all sat round the table looking at this from a different angle. And it plays out. You can bend down and look through windows, and the closer you get to them, the louder the audio, so you can actually eavesdrop on what's going on. Then a murder happens. The film will pause, allow the family members to talk amongst themselves. What did you see? What did you see? What did you hear? And you start really talking about what you just experienced. And then the film plays on a bit more, and then it stops again, perhaps giving you another chance to come up with the idea of who it was, and watching the characters, what do they do? I think it's really exciting. I think it's something that's really going to change the way we consume film, and the way that film is filmed. You know, that was all done in a studio, no actors in that example. I think it's going to be, yeah, quite fascinating. I'm watching for that one. I'm looking forward to it. And augmented reality is around, you know, Pokemon Go happened, which isn't technically augmented reality, but don't get me into that. So yeah, anybody that's got a phone nowadays has some sort of augmented reality solution on them. So that video was a year and a half old now, maybe 2 years. So you can, yeah, the tech is out there now. So there's no reason for these developers not to make it for us. Those 2 videos I've just shown you, they are on YouTube. Ocado Warehouse will bring up the first one. Peter Jackson AR will bring up the second one. Go home, put it on, show it to your parents, make them feel really old. That'd be really, really cool. Okay, we've got a chat I'll answer now. Do you think films will have some user input so that people can decide what happens next, for example? Oh, so that's a really different concept again, isn't it? The idea that a choose your own adventure type thing on film. So Netflix did that. They did bring out a series where you could decide what you're doing next, and you'd have to watch it more than 7 times, I think it was, to find all the endings in it. It didn't fall well. It didn't fall well. People seem to want to sit back and be entertained by a series or a film or a program, not have to think. So it didn't actually fall very well, and Netflix did can 2 others that they were working on. Having said that, I think there's certainly a place for it. Nothing else than the kids programs, you know, learning the alphabet, Go Jetters, Iggle Piggle, and all them. You know, if kids could interact with it in some way to decide, you know, this is how you spell that word, this is how you do that math, that's what that color is. I think that's where it's particularly interesting for learning with young children. That's a great question. So now I am going to give you a story. So this is something that I've done. So I haven't really told you about me, what I do for a living. So I'm a consultant. What it means is I go into care homes in the UK and I help them use technology. So whether that's care homes looking after vulnerable children or adults or elderly people or people with learning disabilities, I go in there and I support them to use really cool tech like robots. So I'll give you one example of something that happened in one of the sites I was helping. So it was domiciliary care. Domiciliary care is when somebody's being looked after in their own home. So a carer will drive out to their home and look after them, and then drive on to the next person and look after them, and so on. It was one such carer who got up in the morning. They tend to start very early, around 6 a.m. And she drove off to see her very first client. She pulled up. It was a lovely old lady. She called Tilly. And she went in to her home, knocked on the door. Tilly was in bed. She went upstairs, got Tilly out of bed, washed her, dressed her, took her downstairs, settled her into her favorite armchair, made her some breakfast, smiles and hugs, and said, I'll see you again when I do it all in reverse and put you back to bed this evening. But take care. And she drove on. She went on to her next call and the next one. And then as she was driving to her 4th call, she had a smartwatch, and it vibrated as she was driving, and she glanced down at it. And what had popped up was a little alert that said, Tilly, bathroom alert. So that's what it said. And the carer thought, that's strange. Everything seemed fine when I was there. Oh, well, I will go off to the next call, but I'll swing round Tilly's just to make sure she's okay. So she finished up with the next client, got in the car and drove to Tilly. There was no answer as she walked into the house. She went to the bathroom and the lady was lying on the floor in a pool of her own blood. So the carer, fantastic. She's trained for this. She knows exactly what to do. She calls paramedics, finds a head wound. The paramedics turn up. They resuscitate her. She had stopped breathing, and bundled her into the back of the ambulance and took her away. And one of the paramedics was taking notes from the carer, and the carer explained her morning routine and everything she'd done. And the last thing the paramedic said before hopping into the ambulance was, if you'd come back to get her and put her back into bed in the evening as you'd expected to, you'd have found a dead body. So the question, I suppose, is who saved that lady's life? It's a difficult one. You know, if the carer hadn't been there, That lady would have probably surely died. If the paramedics hadn't come and turned up, that lady would have probably definitely died. But the hidden solution that existed was something that I worked on. So what we did is Tilly was one of our experimental homes. And what we'd done is we got a load of sensors, loads of sensors. They were tiny, looked like a plaster, if you imagine a plaster. And there was 2 of these, and they were dumb, really dumb. Yes, no, that's all they did. When the 2 of them were together, they liked it and they went yes. And when you take them apart, they'd say no. That's all they did. So we put them on every door and every door frame in that building. So we could tell every time a door was opened and a door was closed. That's all we could do. We put it on, we left it go for a few weeks, and then we had some data. We used that data to understand what Tilly's normal patterns were. And one thing we knew was that when Tilly went to the bathroom, she tended to spend about 20 minutes in there. So we built an alert that said, if Tilly spends more than double 20 minutes, let someone know. My God, send an email, do something. And that's what had happened. So Tilly had gone into the bathroom. The door hadn't opened a second time for 40 minutes. This system flew off a little email to the carer, who saw it on her wristwatch and reacted. That saved her life. And if I say to you, the developer saved that person's life, let's just stop and think for a minute. This developer, it's not someone that's learned how to write in code. It's somebody who just looked at a load of data and it said, you know what, what's the average of all that? 20 minutes. Okay, on average, she spends 20 minutes. Let's just double it. You know, if duration equals 2 times average, send an email. That's really simple to do. You don't need to be a high-end top developer to know how to do that. Most of you listening to this could do that. And that saves someone's life. That technology could just be, imagine we put that into every elderly person's home in Britain. That'd be absolutely fantastic. Yeah, nice of you, Helen, to message in the chat. Technology does save lives. I've got so many examples of where technology has been used in such a way, but it just goes to show that if you want to be a nurse, if you want to be a carer, if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a developer, any of these roles can really incorporate technology to make the whole service you're providing better. So yeah, and I will talk to the geeks specifically that are watching it, are quite interested in going into the world of technology as a developer or something like that. Don't work for Tesco's. Don't work for Elon Musk. Don't work for any of those. Can I encourage you to try and make people's lives better? I think I will encourage you to try and look at the health and social care sector. It's crying out for your skill. Yeah, I will do that. Just going to read a chat that's there. An idea of that, could technology help with people's loneliness? Yeah, why should it alert when somebody's been in the bathroom too long? Why can't it alert when somebody's mood is dipping? There's lots of ways of measuring mood. Here's a tangent for you all that you might find interesting. Gait. The way you walk is called your gait, the way you step. I bet you didn't know this. Everyone's gait is unique, like a fingerprint. Bet you didn't know that. Every human being on earth walks with a different gait. That's amazing, isn't it? But your gait changes slightly dependent on your mood. So a very unintrusive camera could sit in a room and monitor the way someone's walking and give you an idea as to how happy or sad they are. A wonderful way of triggering an alert to a loved one or a neighbor, a son, a daughter, a mother, a father, to check up on someone. So I think that's really quite a cool one. I'm looking forward to this technology becoming the norm. So that's half my time used up, and I intended to spend about half of it talking at you like this, and I will apologize for that. Hopefully you found it really useful. I'm going to come back to my message, and that is, whatever you're interested in, you know, that care worker, she now trials technology in care sectors. That's what she does. She loves it. That blew her mind. You know, when she next saw me after that happened, I'd heard it had happened. Someone had rang me and told me. When she next saw me, do you know what she said? Nothing. She was too busy crying and hugging me. You know, I'm a geek. I play with a spreadsheet for fun. And yeah, hopefully. I can't promise being a geek will get you girls. It doesn't usually do that, I'll be honest. Sorry, guys. So I am going to throw over to you. Please, you have all been very quiet on the chat. Please, if any of you have a vocation, a career, a passion, maybe your dad wants you to be a GP, but you want to race cars, whatever, please give me some ideas, throw it down then. I'll talk to you about how perhaps that area has already been disrupted by tech, but how you could disrupt it with tech. So I'll give you a chance to do that.
I'm just wondering, Geraint, whether we should ask whether anybody wants to put their hand up and allow the teacher to be the spokesperson. If they unmute, if any of your students have got questions, if you wanted to unmute and ask a question that you think somebody has asked, something that you'd like to hear more about, I'd be happy for you to do that. As long as not everybody's talking at once, then that's fine.
That's a great idea. While I wait for people to do that, there is a chat around gardening, a gardener. You might have seen this on TV programs, but already when people are designing gardens, they're using an app. You know, if you actually paid a landscape gardener to come and do work for you, chances are they're going to produce an app or a picture. They're going to email you a mock-up of how it's going to look. So there's already tools out there that let you build your ideal garden. Think Sims, that kind of stuff. But I see that the natural progression for that is around virtual reality and augmented reality again. The idea that when you're there with the gardener, they're going to ask you to put your phone up. And as you scan it around your garden, you're going to see where that bed's going to be, where the wall's going to go, how deep the step's going to be, and they will have mapped it to your actual garden. That's not far away. If any of you people on this call, if any of your parents are landscape gardeners, go and tell them this. And you know what, I can help them develop it if they want. That's the way they need to be going in terms of gardening, I think. The other way, I suppose, is how you experience gardens. So if you're somebody that opens your garden or wants to set up a greenhouse business and things like that, of course, e-commerce, you'll be selling your seeds online all around the world, not just out of your little your premises. You're definitely going to be doing that. And it's going to be, sorry, I've been distracted. Someone's done investigating crime. That's one of my favorite questions. I can't believe you've asked that one. That's a really good one. So yeah, how you experience gardens is going to change. I think you're going to ask people to put on their glasses to look at it, because you could have labels coming up for each plant as you walk past with the augmented reality, so you can see exactly when it blossoms and how long it blossoms for, and the name of it and the Latin name of it. Even a pronunciation of the Latin, that could be fun. That's a good one. Okay, so I'm going to come back to the investigating crimes one, even though I am drawn to it because we've had one from a pupil. So a pupil in the class wants to work in the London Underground. So the London Underground excites me. Let's talk to you quickly about how it's already been transformed. So the Docklands Light Railway, the DLR, Docklands Light Railway, I don't know if you know this, it's all robots. It's all robots. There's no drivers of those trains. Unfortunately, you can't do it anymore. They've changed it. But you used to be able to sit at the very front as if you're the driver, but you can't anymore. I don't know when that changed, but the last time I was in London, it's all gone now. But yes, so already it's been disrupted. DLR came out. They looked for a new way of doing things, and so there's no drivers. It's all automated with robots checking. That's why it lands at exactly the same spot on the platform every single time. How is it going to be disrupted? I think that's going to be the norm. I think we're going to see the other lines starting to be automated through the use of robotics. I think there's new ways of traveling is going to happen. I don't know if anybody knows this, but the Central line, the Jubilee line, the Northern line, most of the lines in rush hour, you cannot get another train on there. You can't get one on. The moment one's gone, the next one's there. You can't physically and safely do it. So imagine if the Circle line was just one big train that all went round at once like that. No gaps, no nothing. I mean, these are the things that I know Transport for London are looking at. They have an innovation centre where they try all this stuff out. They even looked at doing conveyor belts. So there was a conveyor belt that went alongside near the train, and you could just stand on the conveyor belt and go along, a bit like in airports. They did look at that. That's a good one. An area that I get quite excited about with London Underground is data. So there's a phenomenal amount of data captured by Transport for London. They know exactly every ticket goes to the ticket barriers. They know everything. And one of the most useful stats for me was when I go into London, if I got there in rush hour, it was a nightmare. I'd get off my train and I would run across the station to the London Underground, and I'd get on my train and I'd get there and it'd be busy. It'd be the third train I'd actually get on because it's so busy. Then someone said to me, a data scientist that worked for TfL London, and he said to me, "Why are you running? Don't run." He showed me that exact station, that exact line, and he said, every 15 seconds, this is how many people are going onto that platform, every 15 seconds. And when I looked at the data, if I walked across this train station and got there 1.5 minutes later, I'd actually get on the train quicker. It was nuts. It was absolutely nuts. So actually data's cool. I would say that, but data is cool. Just that little fact means I can just slowly walk. And he said, if you really fancy it, stop and get a coffee en route because it's going to be even better. I said, I thought it'd be worse at 8:30. He goes, no, it gets a bit quieter there. And then it ramps up again. And yeah, so data can give you insight. I shouldn't have told you all that because you're all going to tell people and you're all going to start going at the quiet times. That's annoying. Hopefully that gives you some idea. TfL is going to be a very interesting place. So in the top 3 sectors that are going to be disrupted with technology, infrastructure is right up there. So your bus networks, your train networks, and all these kind of things, and your gas, your electricity, utilities, things like that. It's going to be revolutionary. You're going to step out your, a sat nav for humans. You put it into your phone where you're going. It lets the buses know. It lets the trains know. It lets the traffic lights know down the route that you're going to drive down. And it gives it a feel for how many people are traveling where, and it'll let the train drivers do this and the bus drivers. Yeah, I'm really interested to see. It's going to be revolutionary. Not to mention the flying cars, but that's another thing. Really hope that's answered the question for that pupil. If it hasn't, pipe up. So yeah, please do throw more questions out. Investigating crimes. So I'm going to flip that around. Crime. Technology is revolutionizing crime. So if you work in law enforcement, if you work in crime investigation, your skill, your technical skill is going to be unpicking tech-focused crimes. There's, I don't know the stat on this. I don't know it, but I'm safe in saying something like, is there a single murder investigation in the UK at the moment, a single one that isn't featuring social media or texts or phone calls or WhatsApp messages? I would suggest, access of social media, telecommunications, chat is going to be integral to any crime investigation. And let's throw myself out on a limb here. So I'm not entirely sure how old some of the pupils are that are listening to this, but you know, if you're in your teens, yeah, if you're in your teens, while you're at work, one of you might be the first person to investigate a robot intentionally killing a human. Now, you might think I'm going into tinfoil hat world here. Robots and artificial intelligence are going to become, they're going to happen. It's going to happen. Hopefully the Matrix won't happen, but you know, it's going to happen. And they're only as good as humans. You know, we're going to program them. We have to think about how ethically we do that. But there's going to be a situation where a robot is going to choose to harm a human. And one of you is going to have to look into that. If you go into law enforcement around crimes, it's going to happen, you know, and it's going to happen while one of you guys are doing a career in it, perhaps. But yeah, I'm sure we can all look forward to turning the news on and finding that one in there. Yes, I'm sure it will happen. That's not very doom and gloom, isn't it? It's maybe I'll actually let me pause on this for a moment, because I think it's an important thing to say out loud to people that will listen. So artificial intelligence is happening. It's going to happen. What a machine does with infinite amounts of data and some level of intelligence, we don't know. Some of the cleverest people I've ever met in my life are dedicating their lives to figuring that out. You know, there's, when you speak to experts in this space, they go, you know, it's not when will we do this, but should we? Because when you press that button, people don't know what it's going to do. On the optimist side, and I am certainly one of these, if you could crunch phenomenal amounts of data with a brain that you know, makes us laugh, it's the most sentient, the most amazing brain and intelligence we could have ever created. It will cure cancer. You know, it will help Elon Musk put people onto the moon for a holiday. It will ensure plastics can get cleaned up from the oceans. You know, it will protect wildlife. You know, whatever these systems are that we create in the near future, it's going to catapult mankind. It really will, and it's exciting. It's exciting. You guys are all going to really enjoy it. It's a wonderful time to be alive. It's really exciting.
All right, thank you so much for your fantastic talk. I just wanted to ask you a question, a personal question, really. I think you've made a really good case for describing how technology can be used for good. Oh, are we on our own now?
Yeah, we're on our own now.
Oh, I was going to just say, what made you go into your sector?
Into my, so I suppose there's two sectors. So there's my head and my heart. My heart is social care. My head is tech. So it's an interesting marriage, actually. So, you know, my wife is a social worker. My brother helps homeless people. Social care is in my blood. It's kind of what I am. But I'm a geek. And if anybody told me when I was at school, you know what, Geraint, you can be a nerd and make a living in social care, I'd have laughed. It's ridiculous. No, you got to go to Silicon Valley. You got to work in London. You got to do programming.
I think people don't associate technology with the caring side, the caring professions. I think that's what's really good about what you do. And actually, I think that's more appealing to a lot more people, because they think of technology as being very faceless and cold almost. So I think it's quite nice to show that human side to technology and how it can be used for good, because you see so many films where it's all bad and, you know, everything blows up.
Yes.
So it's quite nice to know that actually there are people working on things to make life better through technology.
Oh gosh, I've got so many stories, so many examples that I can share about tech firms and organizations and charities that are doing some really amazing things in this space. You know, we're doing loads of work with dementia, autism. There's just so much scope, and so I suppose that's how I make a living from it. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm in a sector that desperately needs disruption, and the know-how,
expertise.
Yeah,
That's brilliant. Thank you.